Okay, I'd like to welcome back to the stage tonight Kate Potts. And her book, by the way, which is lovely, it's called Pure Hustle. So do buy a copy if you can.
Thanks. I'm not quite sure how to follow that.
You were dolphin poems.
I do actually know I have a whale poem.
Okay.
Maybe I could do that. Right. So this is another one with a Bob Dylan connection. But yeah, it's slightly different to the last one. I kind of used a few lines from Bob Dylan's song for it. And it was actually written for some friends of mine for their wedding because I couldn't afford a present at the time, so they told me to write a poem, which is very sweet of them. What you need, you think will last. Shot through with yellow before daybreak, the city's laconic and fastidious, fast frost, the streets cold brazed to winter sepia. Suspended still in linctus sleep, you register that light, but slink down, further in your dark. Sea-sickening, your sailors chart a course for morning, past your orphan self, the red Yorp, the gun, those petty saints. Your reindeer armies blench, flick hooves and dissipate across the tundra, dragging their hides and their unconscious heft. Beyond the sash window, day inches starts its haunting, welling in kids' diverting shouts and in talk radio's thinned drift, though you furl the blankets close as a blue sky crease. A day for salvaging what's useful still, stale bread, off-cut words, cloths, bottle ends, our sphered spinning hod of ore, earth, energies, our sinking flesh. Outside, the workmen stamp their shaled bells of boots. Their foreman bellows the meat of his ice-cramped hands, claps and fusses them, like finches, into life. Okay, I have a cat poem next. I tried really hard to avoid writing a cat poem, but I think when you're stuck at home and you're writing all day and your cat is the company, you run out of ideas and inevitably you end up writing a cat poem. Slow season. The cat's spiked, static. Copper green sparks retch from her unremarkable tail's tip. She licks her unctuous little feet. At night, she gambols, mauls the grey mice, marches her claws across the covers, nests in my twiggish pillow hair. Days, she's a dumbed stone, a furred balloon. I am mourning the magicians, and the moths they trap in gaslit bins, then shunt out to flap and welter nightly through the crowd's stumped O's in electricity. They'd beat the small town air to slamming fits. Oh, the sleep-sunk truffle velvet of their disappearing cloaks, the steel saws chirp, their woodbines, linctus, tinctures, itches and powders, the long, laggard pendulum of the hypnotic pocket watch. I went through a phase of reading lots and lots of fairy tales. I'm really interested in fairy tales and a whole lot of theory about kind of the function that they have, and ended up writing this, which is called 3 Wishes. What is it then? A gold-yolked goose egg, a wilding beanstalk, the flatness of adulation, being always young, the king, the castle, wheat stalks spindled to flash and twine, or a cousining, a camera snap that keeps you fleece-wrapped and obdurate as a retouched grave, a quiet pearl, a thick sleep saved from thistling worry, a cleaned, thick brick gated place, chrome and cream, control, wired yammering to drown the sullen rising sea. Remember now how the girl requested a tattooed point of light, a refined star, woke to the blinding, ink-scrawled sail of space, unbounded clusters, galaxies cankering in her skin. This is kind of a fantastical one as well, and it's a bit longer. It's kind of a fable, which I have trouble explaining. I think when I wrote it, I was thinking about how being a writer can feel a little bit like you've joined a weird cult, compared to when you think about the things that your friends are doing, which tend to be a bit quite different. The Runt. He was one of the last when the talents were handed out, skulking, as usual, purple fists clenched and held low. The other gods jostled and elbowed for their powers, muscular flight, velveteen invisibility, the whittled cogs and pulleys of super strength. His own gift was small, misshapen like a dried up bean, a dulled skin curl of tan leather. He held it to his ear and heard death rattle, a distant meddling of breeze in grass, grating of worn and hollowed bones. He cupped it always, little ugly pod, in his broad palm, in his pocket. Nothing, it seemed, transpired. The other gods tautened, grew luminous, their bodies swollen, platinum. They inhaled weather systems, spat hurricanes, cantankerous on waking. They impersonated mountain ranges with the angles of their sleeping knees, their hips curl. Often they sacked cities as they stumbled, dozy, out for a morning piss. 2 planets from their orbits with the storm force of their swatting, oiled wings. They didn't notice him, remaining where they all began, digging his potatoes, listing as the skies boomed orange with their mid-air tiffs and thundered curses. His own stranger talent befell him slowly with the odd geometry of waking in an unfamiliar room. With passing years, his hands hardened like stale bread, the skin shrinking and tautening to walnut shell. The other gods glowed on, ripened even, aped the marble of their pale statues in the city squares, their youthful sadnesses long gone. He felt his sinews shift and shorten. A day's wood gathering or heavy digging brought on strong sensation, the stinging weep and welling of the low autumn sun in the muscles of his arms and shoulders, in his veins. His siblings' grand spats, beheadings, heroic doings, became to him as distant as his own concocted tales, their giant bodies empty and unlovable as glass, their voices honed and spun to undecipherable frequencies. At day's end, he'd gather up his spade and scythe, stand his clay feet steady on the earth, and scour the open skies. At dusk, the marsh was heady with sound and darkening, strung with shocks of bluing water. The lowlands crackled and spat, peppered the air with flocks of wild, diving birds in strange, excited rhythm, and the lone, moon-faced owls in the dark yews chanted out their own monastic answering. He found, noticing the dropping sun one harvest night, he had no memory of that other life, the story of his boyhood, only white noise, the odd grand smash of godly thunderbolts, no faces and no names. I'm going to change plans slightly and read my very short whale poem. Whale. Out of her element, miles off course, I catch the footage on Sunday's news. Her sea-plucked hulk keeling on the startled screen, a river whose shallows couldn't hold her. The black stones of her eyes endure us. I wish her back, to the open water. I'm going to read another long one just to finish off with. Which is, when I was writing this book, I had a kind of chunk of time in which to write it, and I happened to be reading a lot of stuff about climate change at the same time for other reasons, but it didn't really turn up very much in my poetry until this one, and I was really trying to avoid writing something apocalyptic, and then I gave in. So, endgame. It has the look of an end about it. Even the sun sours, galled and hazed to a second silica moon. Oh, little one, we'd mind the skies, meter light, given the means. Round one of our fight back, a lagging move to higher ground. The lowland metropolis blisters with oval growths of sky and water, slackening its lungs to marsh, a slobbing back to early Holocene and nuzzled sea. I pacify you with well-turned breakfast egg, the slick of true fried yolk and thick-cut cotton pad bread. Increasingly, the doors amuse you with their signage, increasingly alarmed. Although not prophesized, the locusts have settled, gorged, then gone. Their chrome-winged clouds have shaved our brittle avenues and heaths. The city's flummoxed, naked. The roads grow coats of muck and kindling, and mosquitoes hang their new dark over the commons and the recreation grounds. We stay indoors, we wear boots, nets. I listen at the cracks in conversation, scan and scour the routine headlines in the papers, hankering for warnings and for news. But the situation isn't critical. We're taking steps. We're trialling new technologies. The border's closed. The lights go out at 8, our streets fall quiet, and the generators mumble into agitated life, grant power to illuminate the burn of moonshine toasts to health, to light our small hours get-out plots, our sing-alongs. The next stage brings croup and night cramps, snifters of milk, codeine for the pain, the little worry nubs I slake my brains on, latenesses, thickening crow's feet, bank fees, ethanol bills. My notes to self: do not say dwindle, arable, or denouement. Do not say arc. Animals dwindle in freezer-aisle pairs, jellied in cans or ground with yellow corn. Do not say fair weather friend. At dinner, we make short work of our rations. I label them fantastical beasts. Braised, they all smack of pseudo-chicken, the swarthy skeeter-ganger, quick-beaked griffins, peaceable centaurs, kraken, wailing stone-blue sulkies. You, out on the asphalt, gong the ration tins, medal and play the wind-tossed bones. Thank you.
I think you'll agree that was a superb set of superbly crafted poems, so thank you very much. More applause to Kate. Thank you very much, Kate. Obviously the first of many visits to Dover for Kate. Okay, we continue now and bring that man back, Graham Buchan.